Hello team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab, and today we're going to discuss about network and cybersecurity interview session part 4. In this video, we're going to discuss about the different type of session attacks and their countermeasure. This topic not only very useful in your day-to-day life, but also very important in the interview preparation of cybersecurity, pen testing, information security, and application security. I already made videos in past on same session of series of network and cybersecurity. So you can check the playlist, and I'm also planning to make more videos on a similar series. So if you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. My name is Prab Nair. For more information, you can refer my LinkedIn profile. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Thank you. So normally the first question always interviewer asks when it going to discuss on a session basis, what is session attacks and what are the different type of session attacks. So session attack is basically mean where you're taking over the session or you're hijacking a session or you're capturing a data from the sessions. So here the primary question we have asked is, can you tell me the different type of session attack? So answers are session hijacking, session replay, masquerading, and repudiation. So these are the different type of session attacks we have. I repeat, session hijacking, session replay, masquerading, and repudiation. We're going to discuss each and every attack in details. Okay, because I have received a lot of feedback regarding, can you tell me the difference between the masquerading and session hijacking? Can you tell me the difference between session replay and session hijacking? So I thought I will cover up those doubts in this particular video. So let's start with the first attack. Okay, so first is called as what is masquerading attack. So masquerading attack is an attack method that utilizes a false identity to obtain unauthorized access to systems through a valid access identification. He or she pretend to be a different machine by changing his source address in his IP address. So let me explain you. So we have a system A. Okay, the IP address is 1.1.1.1, and this is basically a system B. IP address is 1.1.1.2. A is basically request for access, B is basically ask for the username password, C is basically A is offer the username password, and now B is basically providing access to the resource. So there is an attacker. Okay. What he did, he basically present himself a system in which he mentioned the source IP 1.1.1.1. He mentioned the session ID called 2121, which is the last session ID has been given to the A. And he also predicting a same source port, and he predicting to the destination same port. So B thought this is the packet is coming from the A. And further to that, he replied to the A1 system or the attacker system. So that is a one use case of the masquerading attack. Another example of masquerading is with the help of ARP poisoning. So let's discuss from the ARP poisoning point of view, because in the ARP poisoning, we're trying to poison the ARP table of the target system. So we have a system A. Okay. It is connected with the switch. And we have a system B. B is the attacker. And then we have a system C. So C IP address is 1.1.1.1. A IP address is 1.1.1.2. And B IP address is 1.1.1.3. Now every system basically maintain the ARP table. They also have a MAC address. So MAC address for B is 9B/7. C IP address MAC address is 8H/7H, and A MAC address is basically 9G/96 and 7H. So now what happened? A basically maintained the ARP table in which he maintained the neighbor IP and MAC address information, like 1.1.1.4, 8H/7H. Okay, and the second is basically called as a B 1.1.1.3, 9B/7H. So A want to send data to C. So if you go by the OSI model, the first network layer will be there in the OSI. So when he's trying to send the packet, he decided, okay, what will be the destination IP? The destination IP is 1.1.1. Okay, sorry. So 1.1.1. So they will check into the ARP table. The 1.1.1 is mapped to which MAC address? So it is 8H7H. So they attach the 8H7H to their data and send it to the switch. Switch will check 8H7H is basically on which particular port. And that is how switch will send the data to a particular port number only. That is where switch does the unicasting. And by this way, it is delivered to the C. So here what attacker did, attacker basically poisoned the ARP table of the A system. And it can be poisoned by the remote network. So remotely we can able to poison the ARP table because entry which is created in the ARP table was a dynamic. And what he did, he basically replaced 1.1 with 8H to 9B H7. So that is basically the MAC address of B. Okay, so now again he want to send the data. So he mentioned source is 1.1.1, and when it goes to ARP table, they saw 1.1 is basically mapped to 9B7H. They attach the 9B7H to the data and send it to the A. A will basically forward the information to the switch. Switch will check 9B H7 is basically on which port, and it is basically on this port. So by this way, B will basically able to access the data. So here what happened, B basically spoof C basically MAC address, making him believe that it is his MAC address only. And by this way, A thought he's sending to C, but in reality, A went data sent to the B. A data got delivered to the B. So this is another example of the masquerading. Like I am spoofing someone's IP and convincing the C it is me only. Or I presented your username, I presented your identification to the C, and based on that I gather the information. One more way we can do the masquerading is, suppose I called your friend. So your name is Akash. Okay, and I called your friend and say, hey, I'm Akash and I'm in a trouble. Can you just transfer me $7,000? So he thought, okay, Akash has called me. So based on that, he transferred me the $7,000. So I pretended to be Akash, and through that I tried to gather the information. So that is basically called as a masquerading. Okay, so let's move to the next attack. Okay, so next attack. What is session replay? See, session replay is a kind of attack where the attacker steals the valid session ID of a user and reuse to access the further resource. So that is called as a session replay. Let me explain you how. We have a system A and we have a system B. You need to understand HTTP is a stateless protocol. It doesn't maintain any state. So how they basically distinguish the multiple clients by their cookies and their session IDs. So A requests for an access. B basically sent him a login page, HTTP login page, and also attach the session ID 1212. Okay, this is the ID which define and identify this particular session. Now A received the login page where he need to enter the username and enter the password. So we enter the user and password. That information is basically sent to the B. B will basically verify the credentials. After B verify the credentials, it will issue the confirmation token. Like this is the confirmation token and this is the session ID 1212. So that confirmation token is the authorization token. Yes, you are the authenticated now and you are now authorized for my resources. Now here what attacker did, attacker basically uses opportunity because he know very well the session ID will not be changed and authentication token will not change. So he capture this value, he captured the authentication token, he captured the session ID and presented in a same format to the B. So B thought A has requested for the session and further resources B has provided to the A. If you see, the base of the attack is masquerading only. Okay, where A spoofed the session ID, A spoofed the session token, captured and resent to the B, and B is basically provide further access to the A. Because to access any system, I need to provide him authentication token. So here I already provide the authentication token to the B. So B thought this user is already authenticated. So let me give you the further access. So attacker uses opportunity and gain access to the system B. and based on that he extract all the data. So that is basically called as a session replay attack. It is same like, right, when you go to the club, okay, they will give you initially, you know what happened when you go to club and bar, they will basically tie one band on your hand. Okay, so what happened is it can be reusable. Okay, I went to club, I enjoy the drinks, I come back, I give that band to my friend. My friend wear the band, he went inside and he also drank same. So I paid the money. Here it's a legitimate way actually. I paid the money, I subscribe for the services, I came out, I give the band to my friend, and my friend now enjoy the drinks and enjoy the party. So same, because that band has been given against some services, the band has been given against the payment. So I already made the payment, but the payment is for the one user. But here with the same band, two users have enjoyed the party. Same here, when the user is successfully authenticated with the server, they have provided the token. That token I have reused and send it back to the server instead of providing a password. And through that, I had a further access to the system. So hacker execute the session replay attack. He captured the packet from a real session data, transfer between the two devices, and access the further resources. So attacker steal the valid session ID of a user and reuses it to impersonate an authorized user to perform the fraudulent transaction activity. So session replay attack may occur when session IDs do not have a defined session expiry. Exactly. So I use this opportunity here because session ID was static. Pre and post authentication, same session ID was used and it was valid for a 1 day or 1 week. So I reuse the same session ID to access the resource. And that is the same thing they're saying here. When session ID do not have a defined session expiry time, or when session data is kept in a unencrypted format. So what is the countermeasure? Set the web application to invalidate the session after it exceeds the predefined idle timeout. And second is encrypt the session data. So this is something is a countermeasure for session replay. Okay. Is it clear? So let's move to the next part. But before that, do let me know in the comment box what are the further countermeasure we have for the session replay. Okay. I need your opinion also. Thank you. So let's move to the next part. Okay, so next attack, session hijacking. So session hijacking, what is that? See, in replay attack, we capture the token, we resend. But now what is happening in the session hijacking? Session hijacking is an attack where the attacker attempt to take over the existing session between the two computers by stealing or predicting a valid session token to gain unauthorized access to the server. Yes, in this somehow we have used a session replay. See, we have a system A, we have a system B, okay, and there is an attacker. Okay, by the impersonation or masquerading, what A sending to B and B sending to A, attacker can able to monitor. So till this time, till this part, he is in a passive or she is in a passive mode. Okay, where he or she passively observing what A sending to B or B sending to A. Suppose A has a request for an access. Okay, and B basically ask for the login and password. Then A basically provide the username and password. Okay, what A is sending to B, attacker can able to see that, but attacker don't want to mingle up here. Now B sending a mailbox access. So when they give mailbox access, attacker basically take over the session, and on his screen he can see the mailbox of the A. When A tried to access the mailbox, he was getting some error. The system got hanged, the browser got hanged. So A thought that might be he got disconnected from the B. But the mailbox was supposed to be open on the A browser, it is open on the attacker browser. So he was waiting for an opportunity once the B sent the mailbox parameter. So he gained access to the mailbox parameter and he was able to check the emails. But Prab, session replay is also like that? No. Now let me explain you the session replay. So we have a system A and we have a system B. And now there is an attacker. There is an attacker. A request for access, B ask for the username password, A provide the username password, and B provide the session token. So this session token or authentication token attacker capture, but it doesn't mean he will going to use now. No, it's not like that. After 15 minutes, he requests for the username password, B provide the username password, he provide directly session token, like an entry pass. So it is not something hijacking. It means he using the previous tokens by which he want to directly gain access to the P. So in this case, attacker no need to enter the username password. He just add the session token, what he already issued to the A, and B thought it is actually a. So in this case, attacker spoofed the A IP. So masquerading has been done. He used the same token by using the opportunity of static token parameter and presented to the B. And by this way, whatever the resource attacker has requested for, B has provided the things. But in this case, what resource requested by the A, that was hijacked by the attacker and able to see on his screen. So that is what is called as a session hijacking attack. So session hijacking attack, where the attacker attempt to take over the existing session between the two computers by stealing or predicting a valid session token to gain unauthorized access to the server. So session hijacking attack typically involve the handful of other attacks such as masquerading, eavesdropping, and data manipulation. So how to prevent that? We can use strong contract passwords. We can use strong passwords. We can keep softwares up to date. Okay, we use encrypted sessions and verify the URLs. And most important, it is advised to regenerate the session keys after the initial authentication or change the session token after the pre and post authentication. So these are some of the countermeasures we have that we can use. So let's move to the next attack. Okay, so next is basically called as a repudiation. So repudiation attack happens when application or system does not adopt control to properly track and logs user action, thus permitting malicious manipulation or forging the identification of new action. So goal of the hacker is to perform the repudiation when executing a session layer attack. Okay, so attack, they use to change the authoring information of an action executed by the malicious user in order to log wrong data to log file. Okay, this is how it works, and its usage can be extended to the general data manipulation in the name of other in a similar manner like spoofing the mail message. If this attack take place, the data stored on log files can be considered invalid or misleading. So let me explain you in a layman term. See, repudiation mean where the user can deny for his action. So we have a server. Okay, we have a server. In the server, there is no logs we are creating. We are not tracking the IP. We are not tracking the username. We are not tracking the authentication. So then what happen is there is an attacker. Attacker basically spoof one BIP and try to access the server. He tried to exploit the server. He trying to perform some kind of a hacking on the server. He uses opportunity because he get to know server is not enabling the log. Because if log capture the IP, then only I can challenge, hey, from this particular IP, the attack was initiated. So it was you who performed this hack. So here, the server doesn't maintaining any session logs. Server doesn't maintaining any session information. Server doesn't maintaining a overall logs. Who going to access that? And that is why the user can able to deny it was not him. But now what happened as a countermeasure, server basically introduce a multi-factor authentication. So when B want to access, he requests for the access, server asks for the username password, he provide the password, then he asks for the OTP, then he provide the OTP, then he access the server and the logs are enabled. So by this way, it gives the assurance that, okay, B was the system who accessed this resource. Now, if A want to spoof the B, he need to know the password also, and he also need to know his OTP. Until unless he don't get the OTP, he can't able to access the server. So by end of the day, if he using his own username and password and his own OTP, and if he doing something wrong, we can able to track, okay, user A performed this activity. So that is why we say to establish a strong non-repudiation, because non-repudiation is the opposite of repudiation. Non-repudiation means where the user cannot able to deny. Now user can't able to deny because his actions get logged. So if attacker want to hack his first password, his OTP, and then only he can use that. So sometime in a frustration, they use his own IP, he use his own username password, he uses his own OTP and try to hack the server. And here what happens, server capture the log, server capture his location, capture his IP, capture his user details, and by which way we can directly trace A perform this attack. And by this way we try to close that ticket. So in a session-based parameter, in a session security, it is very important to enable the logs, track the logs, enable the session ID logs. So by which way we can able to see which user tried to access the which resource in the system. And if we're doing something wrong, we can able to challenge him easily. He should not able to deny on the later stage. So opposite of repudiation, where the user can able to deny, is called as a non-repudiation, where the user will not able to deny for his action because his logs capture his IP details. Do let me know what are the other countermeasures you can have for the repudiation, and do let me know any other attacks in a session-based parameter, okay, in a comment box. And I'm happy to help you with the more attacks in the same comment box. And do let me know, shall we make more network security interview question videos in a future stage? And if you still not subscribe to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. Good day, bye bye, and happy learning.